All right, welcome back to the co-sponsor podcast. Today I got Lynea Carver from Tacoma, Washington. We call it CTAC if you don't know, but she is a master of systems, leverage, and runs her own coaching program. Has a really nice organization here at eXp Realty. I'm extremely excited. We were chatting offline and got a lot of good insights into what that entails. Also, her organization here at eXp Realty. But the thing I'd like to talk to you first is really like, what was your experience like before you came to eXp Realty, and what was it like working in the traditional model? And then to follow that up, like, what was that one thing that like snapped in your brain where you're like, okay, things aren't really going the way I thought it was going to go, and like, what made you take this transition over here to eXp?
Oh, great question. So I didn't start out in a traditional brokerage. I actually
Hmm.
started out with a kind of a cloud-based discount brokerage.
Okay.
And so my very first experience in real estate had nothing to do with a traditional brokerage. It had nothing to do with an office. We had a lot of online meetings, et cetera, and it was a really low cost brokerage.
You can tell us what the name was.
It was Professional Realty Services,
Okay.
and they're based here in Washington, in Spokane.
Okay.
And they had, I would say, I think we probably had like 1,000 agents or something like that. I mean, I could be completely off. I mean, I think I actually have a plaque from there, the little plaque that you see right there,
Nice.
kind of. Yeah, that was from them. I was a top performer there my first year. I sold, I did over six figures my first year as a part-time agent. And then when I ended up leaving there because I wanted to try a traditional brokerage.
And what
I
year was
wanted to see
that?
what it was like. Hmm?
What year was that?
29, sorry, 20, yeah, 2019. I
Oh,
left there in
perfect.
2019. Yeah. I was there for maybe a year or so. And then I went to the traditional brokerage and I went to John L. Scott. They're here in Seattle. It's very big in Seattle, but not very big anywhere else. And I liked him for a few reasons. I wanted to go there because, I came from a corporate background and worked for Nordstrom, which was a Seattle-rooted company that went really big. So it had a lot of like values, and John L. Scott had a lot of the same values that we had in Nordstrom. So I went there uh, because I wanted to see what it was like to have an office, to have a broker that you could knock on their door and all that stuff. And I made it 9 months, 9 months. And you know, I was there was 40 some people in the office. I was number four. And I was 2 or 3 years in the business. And I was like, I shouldn't, like, I'm already at the top. Like, when you go into a new room, you don't want to be the smartest person in the room.
Yep.
Like, I don't want to be the top agent that soon. And I found that the people that were producing more than me the only difference was that they'd been in the business for 20, 30 years. I was new. And so there wasn't a lot of collaboration. There wasn't a lot of like help. But there was a lot of, Linnea, can you come teach what you're doing with video and social media? Can you come teach our office? And I did. And I got a gift certificate to a restaurant to say thank you. And then one day, my broker called me in the office, and she meaning no harm. It really came from a good place. But she's like, hey, I want to talk to you. She shut the door, and I was like, oh my God, I feel like I'm in trouble, right? I want to talk to you. We just think that you're amazing. We think that you have so much potential. Have you ever considered going a management route with us? And I just like my heart's like stopped. And I literally looked up. She's like, what are you looking at? I was like, a ceiling. And she was like, she didn't know what I was talking about until a month and a half later. I came to her. I said, I gotta go, dude. I gotta leave. I saw for the first time in real estate, I actually saw a cap on what I could potentially do if I was stuck at that traditional brokerage. I saw that the only way for me to grow was to sell more houses. The only way I was ever going to get number one in my office was to be in the business for 20 or 30 years, or, be a managing broker. And that was a hard no for me. And that's why I came to EXP.
That's an interesting story. And actually the thing I've learned is a lot of agents that make the transition from a quote unquote traditional model to EXP, it's like they were the top agent in their office, pretty new into the game, and they were just hitting their head on the ceiling. Like, well, one, how did you get so much business so fast? And then two, like, how did you know how'd you know there was something else out there? I'm always curious about that.
I got a lot of business fast with social media. I was a true fake it till you make it person. Like my very first month, I don't even know that I had my key, access to my super box yet. you had to take training after you get your license. They don't tell you this. You got to take training, more classes, more training to get access to the MLS. And then you got to take more classes to be able to do listings. And you got to like actually go and learn how to, so many things. So I don't think I had done any of that yet, but I had my license. And I was like, I don't care that I don't have any of that. I have to sell some houses. Like I didn't do this. It took me 3 years to get my license because I was like just kept procrastinating and putting it off and starting and stopping. And finally I did it. So I was like, I just I just gotta go. I just gotta do this. So I would go out to open houses in my neighborhood. I would look on Zillow because I didn't have the MLS access. I would look on Zillow and I would find all the open houses and I would plan my trips. And so I would film content. This is before I took any coaching on anything. I would film Facebook stories. It's the only social media I had. And I'd be like, hey, I'm getting ready for an open house. I'm so excited, you know. And I would just go to the open houses and I would do tours open house of these open houses. And I would talk to the brokers and I would just ask them questions like, how's the market going for you? How's business going for you? Where are you getting your business from? Right. And I just acted like I was this wildly successful agent. And then sure enough, after 6 months of having no deals, but literally like just staying consistent with video, staying consistent with like being in front of my sphere. I did the whole like forward calls. Hey, how's it going? You know, I left corporate America. I'm doing real estate now, right? So 6 months, like literally, that's all I did was just live, breathe, eat, and sleep, real estate, videos, touching base with people. I got my first deal. And ever since then, it just like came. It was a whirlwind because I mastered the art of referrals. The first coach I ever worked with was Brian Buffini. Learned
Mm.
like mastering the art of referrals. So I learned how to ask for business. I learned how to like just like be efficient. And that's just how it started coming to me left and right. And so I would say by the end of 2020, I was just freaking slammed. I was like business after business. In 2020, I sold 35 homes by myself.
Gotcha. So what was like the going back to the question about like your head was on this hitting the ceiling,
Yep.
like what were the markers that even like made you think like EXP was the answer to the problem you were trying to solve? Because I know for me, I was in the exact same situation. I was the number two agent in my office, my first 2 years in real estate. The number
Mhm.
one was a new construction listing agent, and I was just doing exactly what you were doing. I know my journey and the audience knows it as well, but I'm just curious, like, what made you open the EXP door?
A Facebook group. Honestly, it's the very first time I heard about EXP was through a Facebook group, and it was a Facebook group. I don't remember which one it was, but they were bashing EXP,
Yep.
bashing. And I was like, what's going on over there? Why does everyone hate this brokerage? Why do they have such bad, what is going on? And that's actually what opened my eyes to it because I was just got curious because whenever I see disruption, I see somebody who's like they're standing out, they're making an opinion, they're making a difference, something happens, people are talking about it, pay attention. And it took me so that's kind of what opened my eyes and then I started really understanding a little bit more. And honestly, when I came to EXP, I didn't even know everything I know now, obviously, right? I didn't, I just knew that I could pay less money. I just knew that eventually, even though my cap here is bigger than it was at my previous brokerage, I knew that it would actually be more beneficial for me because I would make more money back. I knew that I had the opportunity to grow. Didn't know exactly which way, and that's what did it. I just saw someone bashing EXP back in 2020, and I was like, I need to know more. And so I started digging and digging and digging, interviewing sponsors, and finally found my sponsor.
Nice. So when did you officially make the move?
2021 September. I think my cap is 6 days from now. So I think it was like September 15th of 2021.
Oh, nice. So you're coming up on 4 years.
Hmm.
Happy anniversary.
Hmm.
So
Thank you.
what so you make the move into EXP. Like what was the first aha moment that you had inside of EXP? And like did you just see like immediate success with your business scaling up or what was that process like?
Yeah, no, I didn't see immediate success. I actually saw that's actually when I burnt out real fast. I'm not gonna lie. I came to EXP and I got so excited and engrossed in agent attraction.
Okay.
So excited. And I also had a really, really, really successful business and fast moving. It was 2021. Who didn't have a fast moving business in 2021? Um, and there was a moment where like I was so busy trying to get onboarded to EXP, learn everything I could, attract agents, onboard agents, and try to build this business right away because it just literally came to me. As soon as I announced that I was at EXP, my phone just rang. It just rang and rang and rang for months. In the first 3 months at EXP, I had 45 agents that
What,
I brought on.
how are you getting that? Like, where were you just putting it on social media?
Yeah. Literally just from social media. It's literally, I just announced, hey, I'm at EXP. And it wasn't even, I don't even know that I did a full, like, I came to EXP. I just like changed my logo
Yeah.
on my things and people started calling. But 45 agents came right away. And ultimately what happened is I got kind of like, I didn't understand how to balance the two, production and agent attraction. So, my business, my real estate business and agent attraction business just kept me working 16, 17-hour days for a long time. It wasn't until early 2022 that I basically shifted and kind of and branched into what more of what I do now. Went on the path of what I do now.
What was the biggest mindset shift that helped you transition that?
Honestly, it started with my husband. I came home from work one day, and my husband, who like we're like best friends. We were just recently married, but I came home from work one day, and he was super like done. He was just done with me being not present. With me being out all the time, not being home. We just weren't spending any time together. And so he basically said, look, I didn't marry you so you could be married to your job. I married you so we could be married to each other. And I ultimately felt that at that moment I had to choose between my marriage or my business, but I was like, nah, dude, I got to do both. I want a thriving marriage and I want a thriving business. And as soon as I had that moment where I just decided I want both. I want to have a super thriving business. I want to have all of these things. That's what shifted my mindset to really move forward into where I'm at today.
How did you make that happen? Because that's that's a real difficult scenario to be in. I'm sure it was a lot of pain
Mhm.
in transitioning, and obviously you have a supportive husband with that situation. So
Yeah.
like walk us through that whole scenario because I'm sure it just wasn't like, oh yeah, he said, hey, it's time to choose, and then the next day you're like, okay, no problem, I'm
Yeah.
gonna stop working, for 20 hours a day,
Yeah.
doing things last minute, a big giant chaotic ball of mess,
Yeah.
to then just like getting yourself in a situation where you're like, all right, my marriage is coming before my business and we can make this work together. So how did that whole situation unfold?
Um, I could probably talk about that forever, but I won't. I'll make it concise for you. Ultimately, the kind of like final nail in the coffin was when I looked at my P&L statement and realized that I had lost well over six figures from just like throwing money at everything. So the very first thing I did after I made the decision was I fired myself. I literally like, you know, when I worked in corporate America, I led a team of about 200 people. And so firing people, unfortunately, was part of the job. So I got really used to it. So I gave myself the same conversation that I would unfortunately had to give to other people. And I fired myself. And look, I said, I basically came to this reality and said, your business is right now, your life is failing.
Mm,
And the only reason your life is failing is because of you. So what I did is I took my expenses, like I like tactically I took all my expenses and I went through and I like redlined things. I cut out so many things. I like let services go. I just let cut out so many things. And then I did like a SWOT analysis of my business. SWOT, the SWOT
mhm.
analysis. Okay.
Yep.
So I did a SWOT analysis of
Why
my
don't you
business.
explain it to the audience in case they don't know?
Yeah, so SWOT analysis is strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats. And it's basically a four-box grid. And in the top left, like everything that's a strength, then you put everything that's a weakness, everything that you have opportunities to improve, and then things that are threatening your business. So sometimes it's competition. For me, it was money. For me, it was that I'm spending too much money, and that's a threat. If you're spending too much money in your business, you're not going to have a business. You're going to fail because Money is your anchor. It is also your catalyst. So take your pick, however you want to use it, right? And so I did a SWOT analysis, which helped me get rid of a lot of expenses. But then I really looked at like the strengths in my business and realized that the number one driving factor in both my agent business and my real estate business was people.
Mm,
People. And so I essentially rebuilt a people-focused business. And it started with, connecting with the people that I considered to be my perfect clients, the people that I said, if I wake up every day, Jesse, you are the person I want to work with. That's it. If I don't have any other client in ever, and it's you, I'm 100% satisfied. And I reconnected with those people and I basically interviewed them, talked to them about things that they love, things that they didn't like, and use their knowledge to help me rebuild with the systems I needed to build in my business. And that's basically the how.
that's great. How often are you like doing your SWOT analysis, and are you looking at your expenses and every quarter, or how are you doing that? Because like I noticed a lot of agents and even myself sometimes is like I'll get like a massive influx of cash. And then I'm like, all right, cool, time to go find the newest system and start loading it up. And then I noticed that next thing I know, I've got like 8 subscriptions that I'm doing nothing with.
Yeah.
So how often are you reviewing those?
So at first, I was when I kind of went into this rebuilding phase, I would look at them every week. I would do a start, stop, improve every week at the end of every week.
Oh, nice.
And so I would be like, okay, based off of what I've decided on the SWOT, what I want to focus on and what I want to get rid of, here's what I want to start doing better, what I'm going to stop doing right now, and how or what I'm going to improve upon. So I did that every week at first, and I also looked at my P&L every week because it's a lot easier to make adjustments when you're learning more about your money and how to let your profit work for you. You have to kind of do it more frequently. So today, here we are, what, 3 years later, I do a quarterly analysis of my finances. And I do a SWOT analysis once a year, but I do a start, stop, improve every week.
Gotcha. Yeah, I think that's super important. So that way, especially when you're producing at a high level, I mean, it's you're running a business, and
Mhm.
I'm kind of interested to know more, like what made you like want to just go crazy and generate all these sales, recruit all these agents? Like, were you just trying to create a life of success with cash? Were you trying to build influence? Were you trying to be like the biggest recruiter at eXp, the biggest, real estate agent in the Seattle Tacoma area? Like, what was it that was driving? And I'm also curious because like there's this whole premise now, like where like people really push this whole like boss babe lifestyle where you have to be this strong, independent woman that just goes out there and crushes corporate America. And obviously, you came from Nordstrom, corporate industries. So, like, was there like a lot of weighing factors, or what was it that was pushing on this? And can you still get the same results today, but working less?
Yeah. Yeah. Um, so like the target kind of always changes, right? Like you get a certain level of success and it always changes. I always wanted to be top 1%. Like that
Okay.
was like, because that's what they recognize. I am a words of affirmation person. I am driven by recognition. And that is just who I am. I know this about myself. Um, and so I wanted top 1%. So I was going for that. And then when I came to eXp, I actually achieved that for Washington. I was top 1% in Washington,
Nice.
which was cool. But then it's like, where do you go from here? Right? I was like, okay, well, let me sell 100 homes. I was like, okay, I'm gonna go try to sell 100 homes. And then learned real fast that was not where I wanted to go because 100 homes a year does not sound fun to me at all. And so it kind of moved into more of like a long-term target of now for recruiting. Yeah, it was like I want to be a beta. I want to be an alpha or a beta, right? I'm a leader. I want to be an alpha or a beta. So I've got to get to 250. But I got to do it this way. And then I learned real fast that that started feeling a little bit more like very kind of like salesy to me versus what I'm really here on this earth for, and that is to leave a positive, lasting impact on the lives of others in everything that I do. So ultimately now what moves me is that like every day I'm like, did I leave a positive impact on somebody? Is it a lasting impact on them, or is it something that's just they're gonna fleet here? It's a fleeting thought, right? So that's really kind of what drove me. And now, it's It's now creating a thriving marriage. Like for me, I was always the person my parents are married and divorced. They're on their third marriage, okay? And I learned from both of them. I love both of their partners now. Um, and also I love my mom and my dad. So anyway, that whole new story there. But I learned from both of them that I didn't want that. I didn't
Mhm.
want to go through a marriage and a divorce and a marriage and a divorce to finally find the right one. What I wanted was to like actually protect what I firmly believe is the value of marriage. I want to be married to someone who I love spending time with. And so now my whole purpose is really to be 100% happy and accepting of me, which is going to make me 100% happy and accepting of my marriage and helps us to be thriving together. And I absolutely can sell a lot less homes today and make a lot more money. And that's it's exactly what I help my agents do is how do you sell less homes and make more money? Other than like everyone talks about selling more homes,
Yeah.
right? Like more homes is the only way to make more money in real estate. And no, that's not. Best way to make more money is to increase the value that you provide to your clients. Because if you increase the value that you provide to your clients, you first of all can demand a higher premium for what you offer. But when you provide a high value, that brings you high value clients. And what do high value clients have? More high value clients,
Yep.
right? And so when you start to actually like improve your offer, I mean, you kind of know this in coaching, it's the same thing, right? It's like you improve the offer, you provide more value, you can command a higher price for it. And then those people are so happy that you've basically created this raving fans of people who just want you to help all of their friends and family. And that's 100% how I do it these days. Like I think this year, I mean, I'm at 12 houses this year, but I've made like more money than I made last year selling twice the amount of homes.
Yeah, nice. I know one of my favorite questions in the world. It's a good optional close to an agent in
Mhm.
recruiting. It
Mhm.
says, do you want to work the same amount of hours or and make more money? So do you want to work the same amount of hours and make more money, or do you want to make the same amount of money and work less hours? So it's like you're gonna get a better result whichever one you choose. And that doesn't like agents typically think there's only one way. So like what's something that agents actually think matters, but actually doesn't?
A lot. A lot. A lot. There's a lot of things that people think matter but don't actually matter. Like, achieving, top 1% status, recognition. It doesn't actually matter in the whole scheme of things. And, yes, there is some value, some argument that it does. Um, but if I were to choose one thing that I think people think matters but doesn't actually matter, okay, it is that they have to say yes just because someone picks up the phone and calls them and says, I want you to help me.
I like that answer.
Yeah. Yeah.
So how do you like qualify someone when they make those calls? Like what's your strategy for that?
There's a few ways. I mean, I teach. So part of what I teach is like my pre-listing qualification. So the qualification process that I have for sellers. I part of what I do is, I talk, especially sellers in this market, right?
Mhm.
Like, let's be real. Sellers have this thing that their house is worth significantly more than what they bought it for 3 years ago today because we fooled them back in 2020 and 21 and told them that was the truth. But it's not the truth today. So my strategy is, if I'm pre-qualifying a seller or determining if I want to work with a seller, I actually have a script. I call it my pre-qualification script. And it's going through a series of questions with like, just trying to understand their mindset. Like, are you a reasonable person? I'm a big values person. So I ask questions like, tell me the story of your home, tell me the reason you're moving, why is that important to you? I get a lot of like trying to understand their mindset and values
Yep.
because if we don't align here and we don't align here, there's no alignment. Let's be real. So I do that. And then I do a lot of like whether or not I actually think that their expectations are reasonable. And I also lay out my expectations and ask them if they're willing to work with me with my expectations. And a lot of times that right there will be where people will tell me, no, I don't want to work with you.
Is this all over a phone call or are they filling out a form?
Both. So we do a form, we do a pre-form. Like if they call me, I have a form that I send them, they answer a few questions, and then we book a Zoom call. I do everything via video for a few reasons. I like to see their face, first of all. You like to see how they react to something, but also you can record them.
Gotcha.
And people have to acknowledge that it's being recorded, right? Because it's a Zoom call. So they have to click that little button. And so I like to use that for getting better at what I do. If I have to talk to them about something later, I just remind myself of all the conversation we had. So,
Gotcha. Yeah, I was looking at this menu of services for listings when you just mentioned that. And actually I liked it because the bottom option for this listing presentation, I'm always like looking at people's strategies. It was like, this is my most basic plan. And this plan is typically reserved for my clients who value speed to sell
yep.
more than the net. So it's essentially you're like positioning them to like basically drop the price super low, do the minimal amount of marketing, but it's going to sell extremely fast. So
Mhm.
I like how you're qualifying the client up front. And I think that's like one of the biggest things that I see like successful agents do is they're really setting expectations early on and treating everyone as a client, even if it's their best friend, because at the end of the day, you're the leader of the ship, right? So if you don't set yourself up for success, and let's just say they don't have a real expectation, you go into this transaction and they overprice the house and you didn't tell them up front, or you were like, yeah, I'm willing to take any listing at any price and it doesn't sell. One, they're not going to think that you were a great agent, but two, your friendship might be ruined too.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think that's where agents miss a lot is the expectations. And I think a lot of it is because A, they're just not confident in what they expect. I think that unless they're already producing at a high level, like a deal comes and they want to say, "Yes, like I need the deal," right? It becomes almost like a scarcity thing. They act out of scarcity. And when you act out of scarcity, you do stupid things. Like take listings that you can't sell and spend too much money and too much time and too much energy on them. And that's a recipe for disaster. But I think setting those expectations very clearly up front. I mean, I have a menu of services. It's what I teach.
Yeah.
But the way I present it, the way I present it is based off of everything that I've learned from qualifying them.
Yep.
And so if I find that if I find that a client is like we're very values aligned and very mindset aligned, but they just care about selling it as fast as possible, it's going to change how I present my tier one, right?
Yep.
Or if I find that a client is very like, which most of my clients at this point are at that phase of their career where they just don't have time. They want me to just manage, just do what you do. You're the professional. I trust you, which is most of my clients nowadays. And I present the package according to their story. So it really just depends on the person in front of me. And that's why I do so much qualifying up front.
Yeah, I love that. And it makes your life so much easier, especially when you're walking into the appointment. You already know exactly what they want, right? You're just now just giving them the information they asked for.
Right, right.
So
There's been like I would say this year I've actually turned down more deals than I've took to take this year, especially for sellers, because a
yeah,
lot of like sellers right now are just yes, if I was focused 100% on production, I would probably maybe work a little bit more to try to see if I can work through their mindset. But I'm not 100% focused on production right now, so for me it's kind of like okay, there's my let's go. I don't want to add that to my plate essentially.
yeah. I know I love telling sellers it's like either A, you have two options here. Either A, sell it at the price in which a buyer is going to pay for it, or B, keep living in your house because your
Mhm.
out of reach pricing isn't going to be a reality. And yes, will there be an agent that throws it on the market? Absolutely. But you're doing a disservice to everyone and you're disrupting people's lives because you will get showings. And, even like right now, I mean, you're probably seeing it as well. But I put a house on the market last weekend, great price. I didn't have one single showing over the weekend. And
Yeah.
I was literally shocked.
Yeah. Yeah, I've had one that we've had on the market since July 10th. The very first week, we had a lot of interest. I actually had a verbal come in the first week, but first week when it's low, it's like we didn't know if the buyer was actually serious or not, and they never put it in writing. So there's that.
Yeah.
But now we've lowered the price twice, and we haven't had showings at all since we've lowered the price.
Yeah, it's brutal. I know I
Yeah.
remember I sold a house last year. It's funny, actually, it just came back on the market today and we didn't sell it. And there was over 20 active listings in this neighborhood and there wasn't one single pending. And I was like, there's no buyers for this market. And
Mhm.
then I always remind myself, I'm like, okay, if the house was priced at $1, would there be a buyer? So yes, there is always a market, but a lot of these, like, I'm not advising the sellers to find the market. And like
Right.
I tell them, hey, you guys might sell this house, but it might be $200,000 less than what you're willing to accept.
Yeah.
And so it's funny because they actually increased the price 100K on top of like the lowest price they said they were going to. So I'm like, all right, they're still unrealistic, but
Yeah, I mean, I had that earlier this year. It was a little bit, it was like back in May, and I had some sellers in the most saturated market I've ever sold a house in. There were 85 homes on the market in this thing, in this neighborhood, and we were number 86. We came in right where I'm so thankful they trusted me on price. I was like, you guys got to trust me. You're going to be sitting for 4 months like these guys are. And they came in and got me, they trusted me on price, and we got it sold in 4 days.
nice.
Like, it's the only reason we got it sold is because of price. Because it's like this is like a cookie cutter neighborhood where nothing's different about the houses, right? They're all the same house. It's literally a price war.
Yep. Yeah, it's actually good that you got into real estate before the craze of COVID because like that's me too. I got in 17. And
Yeah.
so I had a dose of non-COVID before COVID. And then I
Hmm.
remember the boom back in the day. My family wasn't investing. So I've been through the cycles, not in the real estate business, but like what's a strategy that's working right now that most agents aren't deploying on top of like your pre-qualification?
So to find, I can talk about what's working for my clients to find clients right now is
Yeah.
awesome is voiceover home tours.
Okay, so tell me how that works.
So what I do is I teach them, like probably similar to you, like you got to use the right keywords, you got to, find the right location targets. So I basically teach them to go in and do home tours of homes, like find homes. I want them doing 12 is the number. Like I need you to find 12 homes. I want you to go and do a voiceover home tour of it. And I want you to put it out. And right now I have people who are they're not even doing YouTube. They're just doing TikTok and Instagram, and it's working on TikTok like a freaking crazy. But like going out doing home tours of like say Seattle, like check out this luxury home in Seattle, Washington, where you can find, all of, everything within walking distance in this Queen Anne neighborhood in Seattle, Washington, right? And we're just kind of like voicing the keywords, voicing the location, and then of course we're adding into the copy for the
Mhm.
post. But I have one client who just got from one video got 102 comments, five buyers sent over for pre-approval.
Oh, nice.
Hmm.
So they're literally just going to like someone's listing
Yep.
and then are they asking them for permission to film?
I always tell them to follow their market guidelines. Like their market guidelines usually will tell you what you can and can't do. And I don't like ever like to step on the legal aspect. I
Yep.
personally always just ask. I go shoot the content and then I ask them if I can post it is kind of how I do it. And I've never had anyone say no.
I think it's absolutely insane for people in 2025 to deny agents
Hmm.
filming of a house. I get it if it's someone's personal home and they're living in there and there might be
Yeah.
pictures of the
Yes.
family.
Yeah.
I get all that. But the sheer fact of like builders saying, no, you can't film my house or agents being so territorial, I'm like, if I was a builder or even a listing agent, look, I literally host content days at like beautiful listings that we take with agents. I'm like, look, I'll freaking supply the food. I will freaking get a photographer there.
Mhm.
I will give you guys the content. Like, advertise my house to the masses.
Yeah. Yeah,
And
I'm the same way. We do a lot like that's actually one of the strategies we'll use for agent attraction too. I have some people in my organization who are doing that where they actually will start with just, hey, can I film your listing? It's a beautiful listing. Can I film it and put it on social? Let me see if I can find a buyer. They follow up with the agent, say, hey, I found three buyers. I've got over to a lender right now. Let me see what I can do for you. Right.
yep,
And then follow up with an agent from there. That's a really great way to start agent attraction.
exactly. So, like, what do you wish somebody like would have said, "Hey, Linnea, back when you were getting your real estate license, what do you wish somebody would have actually given you the roadmap to do? Like that, if you could restart from scratch, what is something you wish somebody would have told you to do?"
That's a really hard question for me to answer, Jesse. And it's because I'm a learner. I don't listen to anybody. I don't listen to anybody. I mean, I have coaches. I listen to my
Well,
coaches sometimes.
what if the Linnea of today could tell the Linnea of 5 years ago?
Um, that there's more than one way to skin a cat,
Okay.
right? Like this business can be done a million and one ways. And just because my mom has always done it one way, because my mom's in real estate, just because my mom's always done
Oh,
it one way, doesn't mean I have to do it exactly her way. Just because, you do it your way doesn't mean I have to do it that way. And
Yeah.
so rather than trying to play the comparison game and trying to be just like all these other people, it's okay to be different. It's okay to carve out your own path. It's okay to do real estate your way as long as you have a purpose and intention behind what you're doing.
Yeah, I love that. And actually, like coming up the eXp con, they were actually saying they were trying to put three experts on the panels because there's like three people might have three different ways. To take it a
Yeah.
step further, I always say is like, yeah, make sure that you understand like what the target is and like what the outcome can be.
Yep.
Because let's just say, for example, you're teaching door knocking, and I'm like, my only strategy is to put people in my database, and you're like, my only strategy is to find hot leads right now. Well,
Yeah.
your strategy is going to give a way like a good result for today and but it's going to be like one in a million. Where my strategy is long term and it's going to yield a lot of fruit down the road, but it's going to take a long time.
Yeah. It's a good
So
point. It's a good point. It's like knowing why, having intention. Like, what is your intent from when you're picking up the phone to call someone? What is the intent that you want from that conversation?
exactly,
Do you want to book an appointment? Are you trying to make a sale? Like, what do you want to just like check in? Hey, how's it going? Like, whatever the intent is, just have intention behind it.
exactly. So you've built a big organization at EXP. Like, what kind of agent really thrives in your group?
Um, so I'm all about systems and leverage. So the agents that really thrive in my group are those who have an I'm going to do whatever it takes attitude.
Okay.
Those who have most of the time when someone is deciding to come with me into my organization, they want my systems. They want my pre-qualification system. They want my referral system. They want my lead generation. They want my systems. And so, yeah, we do a lot of, we can help you set it up. We have a lot of support calls. We work with you side by side to, help set up whatever CRM you're using. But they want all that. And then they understand that the biggest success is going to come not from just wanting, but from actually doing and understanding that doing does not always mean you, the agent doing. Sometimes your doing means that you need to hire support. You need to find the leverage that you need in your business. And those people
Yep.
thrive when they're willing to let go of control, be a little like, it's okay, someone else can help me when they're willing to do whatever it takes to get to the level they need to get to.
What are because you've mentioned a lot about leverage and systems. Like, what are a few of your favorite tools that you're using?
Well, ManyChat, first of all, for Instagram automations, freaking
Yep.
love it. And I actually just learned because we use Go High Level for my CRM for coaching. I actually just learned that Go High Level has its own chatbot that you can connect to Instagram. So
Yep.
stay tuned on that one. So that one. Um, and then the other tools that I think every agent should absolutely have is Follow Up Boss. Like I don't even get paid they don't even have an affiliate link. I need one, but Follow Up Boss because I freaking love Follow Up Boss. It is the easiest CRM I've ever used. It's the most dumbed down CRM, for lack of a better term. Like I think you can be the most non-tech savvy person to figure out Follow Up Boss. So ManyChat, Follow Up Boss, and then HomeBot.
Yep.
I'm a huge HomeBot fan. Like
Yeah.
HomeBot over Fellow all day, every day, mainly for the costs. But second of all, because if you actually use HomeBot systematically, HomeBot like converts deals like that.
Yep.
So,
I love HomeBot. Back in the day, I would tell all of the agents that I recruited, I said, I'll find you four listings from your database if you join me. And then they would be like, how are you gonna do that? I said, you gotta find out. And then so as soon as they came over, we would sign them up on HomeBot. I would dump their entire database in there. I'd say, let's just give it a month and then we'll see who the cream will rise to the top. We'd see like, some people we always set the benchmark at 4 hits a month.
mhm.
And then we would just reach out, hey, just checking in as how things are going. Oh my gosh, thank you for reaching out. Oh my gosh, we've been thinking about selling our house. It's like,
Yeah,
yeah, I know we were spying on you.
yeah, yeah. I get like 8 or 9 a week, 8 or 9 a week. And sometimes right now they're the repeat ones, like they're the people who are looking 3 or 4 times. But I'm like, good, I want you. So 8 or 9 a week right now is insane what I'm getting with HomeBot.
Nice. Yeah, I love HomeBot too. There's some new ones that are popping up too, which I think HomeBot could add a tool to their system, in my opinion, where like iList, it shows like Redfin, Zillow,
Mm.
everything. But then it also has a thing where you can click on it where it says like give me an offer. and you
Yeah.
can add in CMA. So I do think there's some tools I wish HomeBot, they built that tool for the lending industry. It's just
Mhm.
agents found good value in it.
Yep.
So I'm a huge fan of HomeBot as well.
Yeah, I think that there is a lot of more new tools that are coming out inside the homebot space, which I think is good. I like that they're trying to keep up
Yeah,
with the agent demand because I think they're starting to realize like their agent demand is actually greater than their lender demand right now.
exactly. I mean, heck, I think there's only like 90,000 lenders in the United States and there's 1.5 million agents. So way
Hmm.
bigger pool. And the lenders have to pay more anyways. So
Yep. Yep.
what so shifting gears, like where do you see your, business coaching and organization at eXp going in like the next 12 to 24 months?
Oh, it's a great question. We're at 150 agents today. And I'm going to tell you 150, like we have a pretty high level of productive agents too. Because,
Mhm.
they always say 20% to 80% of the volume. We're at about 35% of our agents are producing right now, which is fantastic.
That's great.
So, I love that. And that's because systems support, lead gen, all the stuff. So I love that. Um, so I see that growing to, my target by the end of next year is 500 for me, which will probably actually grow bigger because we're bringing builders. We're bringing some builders on. So I'm probably thinking too small, if I'm being honest. I think that number's going to grow real big. And then when it comes to my coaching, I'm always looking to work with agents who want some massive level of success, like agents who are really trying to get to that next level. So I see that as, I fulfill a need in the coaching space that I don't think a lot of real estate agents or real estate coaches fulfill. I fulfill the, do it without burning out. I feel that need, right? You want to grow, but you don't want to burn out. And so I think there's a huge population out there, especially if you look at 87% of real estate agents report burnout at some point in their career, right? And
Oh, yeah.
that's when most of them leave. So very few make it through the business at that point. So 87% face real estate or face burnout. Most of them leave, 75% of them leave during that burnout. So if you've been burnt out and you made it through, just know that you are in the minority of agents who've made it through that. But my mission is to completely change the way the entire consumer looks at real estate agents. I think real estate agents have an opportunity to be much more professional, have higher expectations for themselves, set higher standards for their clients, and set a higher standard for our industry. So if I see that as like where is it going? That's where I see it going. I see us disrupting the real estate coaching space, honestly. Not even just the
Oh,
real estate industry, but the coaching space.
when you say that, like when you're talking about the outlook, do you, and I have my own opinions about it, I'd love to get yours.
Mhm.
Like, why do you think that is? Is it just because we're all 1099 and it's super fragmented?
Like why we burn out.
No, no, like why are we looked at like not as like professionals and like why is it so like discombobulated?
Yeah, there's a lot of things, right? You have these companies coming out who are like, let me just sell, like basically, first of all, the NAR thing last year, like that's kind of a big thing. You have these big things that are help on like a massive national scale that are as usual, not represented properly in the media. So the general consumer doesn't actually know. So they get this perception of what they see in the media as the industry, right? And you and I both know from because we work with agents who are professionals. You and I know there's a big difference between someone who is not a professional and someone who's a professional and not a professional.
Oh yeah.
There's a big difference between the dabbler or the part-time thing. So I think a lot of it is that a lot of people come into the industry because they think it's easy. It is the lowest cost industry to get into with the highest amount of inventory.
Yeah.
Like you spend $1,000 to get your license and you have billions of dollars in inventory at your fingertips.
Yep.
What other industry can you do that? It's I don't know. I've done a lot of network marketing and I have to spend $1,500 to $2,000 just to have products sit on my shelves that I can't sell, right? With real estate, you don't have that. So that's part of it. There's a lot of people who get into real estate as their second or third career. I am one of them. But, second or third career, when they're kind of already done, they're just done working in general. They don't want to work anymore. So let me just do real estate because I think that sounds like fun. It's glamorized. $1 million listing, selling sunset, like it's a glamour. There's a lot of reasons. I could go on about forever, but I think that we already in our industry do have a challenge stacked up against us for all of those reasons that there's those the top 1% of us who have the, I want to change the industry. I actually want to create a legacy, and real estate is honestly one of the best ways to build a legacy. You can
Yep.
long term build generational wealth. Like owning real estate saved me from complete financial ruin. Like owning real estate has been a massive change for me. And so I think you know, I obviously get really passionate about why.
Oh yeah, makes sense.
Yeah.
It's funny. Did you watch the Alex Hermosi launch a couple weeks ago?
No, I'm like probably the only person on the planet that missed it.
I'll show you. I got his whole thing about the whole program.
Hmm.
And they asked him and Sharon, they said, what if you had to start over from scratch, like what would you do? And you know what he said? He goes, I would either be a real estate agent or a headhunter. And he goes, exactly what you said. Real estate is the only industry in the world that you can spend a little bit of money and make, he actually was referencing commercial, but he's like, you can make $400,000 on one sale.
Yeah.
And he goes, it's crazy. And actually, they opened my eyes to corporate headhunting because they were like saying on one CEO, you can essentially make like $150,000, which is crazy. But like, what kind of agent do you see comes into your organization and really thrives?
Um, Usually there's someone who they're at this point where I want to think of, I just brought over someone that it took us 3 years, 3 years. And when I first started talking to them about EXP, they were like, yeah, I like it. I have a certain goal that I want to make first. And I was like, okay, well, what's that goal? Let's help you make it. And they just didn't seem to have the skill set to put in place what they needed to make that goal happen, but they had the mindset.
Hmm.
So they spent 3 years coaching with me. By the way, they paid me to coach them for 3 years. We got their goal, and then they're finally like, okay, now I'm ready. And so what their specific thing is that they basically wanted to prove that they can cap. They wanted to prove that they can cap because the cap is higher at EXP than it was at their current brokerage. So or their former brokerage. So what made them successful and what makes them thrive now? Because they're about to cap. They've been with me for less than 30 days and they're about to cap. Just so you know, they came over with deals in the pipeline ready to cap. So they're like, yeah. Now that I'm like, are you guys going to make icons? They're like, yeah. So my front line has 70% icons.
Nice.
So yeah, it's pretty awesome. So what makes them successful and what makes them thrive is they've already had some business. They have a taste of the industry. So I don't have to spend time coaching them on what the industry is about. All they want, all they're missing is that community support that's going to help them get to that next level. So they have the skill set, they have the experience, they have something, they're usually coaching with me. But then what they need to thrive is the community. They
Yeah.
need the people. They need we have a Discord channel and like people are posting wins in there. Like it's like nonstop. Bing, ding, 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 wins, wins, wins. And so they're around other people who are producing and selling a lot of houses and they're like, okay, I want to do it. So I don't know if that answers the question
Oh,
specifically,
100%.
but that's who thrives.
I think and for the audience that's listening, an icon agent is someone that does probably 26 and above transactions a year as a solo agent. So hearing that you're 75% of your direct recruits, so people that have joined you directly, have our icon agents is something to, hang your cap on. So that's amazing. And I
Yeah.
do agree. And I think, actually one of the reasons that I came to EXP actually was because you were from Nordstrom. Did you work for any companies that were franchised before that?
John L. Scott, my brokerage was a franchise.
Yeah. So when I got into real estate, like before that, I was in the corporate brewing industry. So
Mhm.
like when I got into real estate, I didn't realize like John L. Scott, Keller Williams, Remax were all franchised.
Mhm.
And so I always correlated it with 7-Eleven. So 7-Eleven was like the biggest convenience store chain in the United States. They had over 5,000 locations, but they were like 99% franchise. So it was very hard to get them to follow a mandate. Well, looking at a company like Walmart, it's the biggest company in the world. They're a corporate company and they could execute overnight. Like they're like the fifth largest economy in the world, like Walmart is. It's crazy. So like after I went to once my eyes got open in the real estate to like saying like, oh, I'm in the franchise model, I need a corporate model. like EXP was a one owner non-franchise model. So when you talk about there being all these fragments and things like that, is like I really think like even seeing Compass buy anywhere now, and they're a single agent brokerage,
Mhm.
like they're doing it for the franchise fees and to inject cash in their business, blah 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 blah. But I do think single ownership of brokerages are like way more advantageous than anything else.
Yeah. Well, I
So
would say even like working for like John L. Scott when because we were we were a corporate office,
yep.
and so
Yeah.
honestly it was the difference from the brokers who worked in the franchise office versus the brokers who worked in the corporate office. It was a total difference in the
Oh,
way we operated too. It's kind of crazy now
it's
that you
funny.
say that.
It's funny because actually, when I was thinking about that back in the day with 7-Eleven analogy, I
Yeah.
was always like, oh, the corporate offices are always following the rules
Yes.
and doing things at a high level. It
Yes.
was the franchise ones that were broken. So it's very interesting, and actually, it all makes sense to me because I've seen this a million times. Is that when your agents come in, especially to EXP, they see a massive momentum shift because they're going from a broken franchise model where they're very restricted
Yeah.
to a wide open model where everyone's in collaboration community. And I love that you have a Discord channel for your team to share the successes. That's
Mhm.
probably something that I could probably implement also. But if there's someone listening right now and wants to like find out more about you, like where should they go?
LyneaCarver.com. That's the best place to go. And honestly, actually, I'm lying. The best place to go is Instagram.
Okay,
Like
okay.
just go to my Instagram. Find me on Instagram.
What's
I
the
do
handle?
Lynea Carver.
Okay.
Yeah, my name. But that's there where I have I do a lot of share a lot of conversations with people, lots of tips. And like on my stories, I'm always sharing about the gym and menopause.
There you go. Good.
There you go.
Two things women need to be focused on.
Two things women need to be focused on.
What are you going to be going to EXP Con?
Yeah, yeah, I'll be there for sure.
Nice. It's
Yeah,
less than 4 weeks.
I know. Well, then like we just came back from Scottsdale,
Yep.
and then before that I was in Toronto. So it's like this is like travel season. I'm like, okay, I'm like, and then I go to Mexico right after EXP Con. Then I'm going to Brent Gove's Inner Circle in Puerto Rico in December.
Oh
So
wow.
like travel, 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 travel. I'm like,
I know
okay.
I got Vegas in 2 weeks, and then I
Uh-huh.
got EXP Con in Miami. And there's one other thing I just saw that I had to go to, but I'm like, I'm tired of the circuit right now.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm like, I was like, well, the whole like, so Toronto to Scottsdale, that was like 4 days in Toronto, 3 days in Scottsdale. And I was just like, this is a lot. Like, it is like so much, a lot of great stuff. Like, it was amazing. But also, I was like, okay, I'm ready to go home. Like, day 3 of Toronto, I was like, okay, bye. I'll talk to you guys later. I'll see you in Miami.
Yeah, the top 250, I don't know if you saw they posted in the Slack group, but it's gonna be February, May, and September for next year.
Okay.
So I think I kind of like that they take the I think Q4 off for EXP Con. Last year they did it the day before.
Yeah.
Which they I think they should still have a breakout for the top 250, but they're still working those kinks out. But do you like the top 250 events?
Yeah. I mean, that was my first one.
Oh yeah.
I freaking loved it. I was
Oh
like,
yeah.
this is the only event I want. I'm just kidding. I love EXPCon too. It's just it's a different event. Like
Mhm.
EXPCon's so big, right? It's like I don't even know if I'll see you in Miami because it's so
Yeah.
big. But like in Scottsdale, it's like I got to talk to you, I got to talk to Jay Kinder, I got to talk to Leo, I got to talk to Jared James. I mean, there's just so many people you don't normally get a chance to talk to at the big events because you're going to be around all of your people in your organization, right? And
Oh yeah.
same with me. Like we have 40 people, I think, from my organization coming, which is the most we've ever had.
Nice.
So like it's going to just be and it's that's an event where I'm going to be a leader versus going to be a learner.
Yeah. See, I
So,
love the top 250. I actually went to the Buffini Bold predictions.
oh, I love that.
And then I was just at the Orlando Jared James Advance,
Hmm.
and I do the top 250 every time. But I will tell you, and you just said it. You're like, oh, it's my favorite event. The top 250, it is such a different environment. And
Hmm.
I just love like even I met you there and I'm like I met so many people and I always meet new people because it's always a rotating crowd. There's always the same suspects that always show up, but then there's always new people. And it's just a different conversation and people's goal. Like, I don't feel like anyone's there like trying to get one over on anyone or, they're not all hiding their secrets. They're all like wanting to share like what's working. And it's such a different room. Like when I went to Buffini, it was funny because they're all, and you probably know because you were in Buffini, but they're all like 30 to 40 years in the industry. Like they were even asking me, they're like, how do you get business outside of Buffini? Because they were asking me like, they're like, oh, are you in coaching at Buffini? And I'm like, oh no. I said, I just come to see what's going on with the industry. I like listening to Brian. I think Sphere is the number one thing every agent should have. And they were
Also,
like,
Brian Buffini is a market expert. Like
oh
the
yeah,
way that he talks about the real estate market, I watch it every year.
oh yeah, he just had his leadership conference last week too.
Mm.
One of my agents in my organization is like one of the top Buffini agents,
Oh,
and
nice.
that's why I went to the Vegas one. But
Mm.
it's just such a dynamic difference of agents in each little space. So
Yeah. Yeah, I
um,
agree. There was another coaching, Jeff Glover, who's also an
mhm.
amazing,
Yeah,
amazing real estate coach. His event, I went to his too. It's just a very different event than like Top 250. Top 250 was by hands down the best event I've been to.
yep, exactly. Well, thank you for coming on. I'm actually going to put a calendar reminder in my phone to call you or text you in exactly 14 months to find out if you hit the 500 mark.
Okay, do
And so
it.
I'm going to hold you accountable to that.
Wait, I got it. I got it. I put it out. Well, now it's recorded. I don't know if I've ever actually recorded myself saying that, and now it's recorded. So,
It's
you
it's
know, you know what they say when you really want something, all the universe conspires to help you to achieve it. So,
I literally told myself, I'm like, I'm going to recruit 1,000 agents by myself. I'm like, it'll take me probably 3 years. I never said it publicly because I didn't want anyone to ever hold me accountable to it. And then I started saying it everywhere. And you know what happened?
yeah.
This year I brought on 150. And I'm like, okay, it's like the momentum starts going. And people are like, you know what's interesting is like when you put a content journey online, people
Mhm.
actually want to help you too.
Yeah.
So like people are like reaching out, hey, I think you should talk to this agent. You should do this, do that. People invite you to come to their events.
Yeah.
It's super cool. But thanks
Dude.
again for popping on today. Really appreciate the conversation. I think people will really find a lot of good nuggets in this, especially like, everyone makes everything so shiny and great in real estate. So you give us some real raw insights, and I appreciate that.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks for having me.
Mhm.